Walsh wants you to imagine that ICE will come banging on your door and shout, "Where are the brown people?" And you'll shake in fear, hoping they don't discover the Mexicans hiding in your attic. And of course, if you aren't, it's pretty hard to imagine this scenario because it's so fake. He says they're pulling over and kidnapping people indiscriminately, which has also never happened, not once. He says ICE is demanding to see the papers of US citizens, which in addition to being false, doesn't make sense.
Now, some brown shirts who operate as media commentators to disguise the fact that they're brown shirts, people like Matt Walsh, are lying to you. That's the whole point of what they do, because it turns out that everything that he just claimed is fake, that isn't happening, has been happening. And in fact, we have some evidence to provide to show that it's been happening at the hands of ICE, of course, whose agents get 47 days of training. Trump cut it down from 6 months to 47 days because he thought it would be cute to do 47 days because he's the 47th president.
It's so cute.
So you have untrained, agents out there terrorizing people. We all see the videos, we see the stories. And Matt Walsh says, just ignore your lying eyes. It's not happening, Jake.
Yeah, a mom of 3 didn't just get murdered in front of your eyes. No, they gave her roses. And they're not masked, and they have badges. But none of that is true. Do they arrest US citizens? All right, Anna, give them the story and the real facts so you can find out what a liar Matt Walsh is.
Now, a lot of the examples have been coming out of Minnesota for obvious reasons. The Trump administration has focused most of its attention on Minnesota, although I want to be clear, these types of incidents are happening in many blue cities, liberal cities across the country. So in Minnesota, there were 4 children from a single school district who were picked up by ICE just this month, and that includes a 5-year-old boy by the name of Liam Ramos. So let's watch a video that explains the details on that.
A local school district who's sounding alarms, they say, about 4 of their students taken into ICE custody, including a 5-year-old boy who they say was detained with his father in the family's driveway. The district alleges that another adult in the home begged agents to leave the child with them, but that the agents refused. NBC News reached out to DHS about this overnight for comment. They didn't respond to us, but the agency did tell the Washington Post that their policy is to ask parents if they want to be removed with their children or be placed with a person designated by the parent.
Now, it is true that parents can request to be detained with their child, but DHS has yet to explain why they didn't allow the 5-year-old to stay with the relatives in the home who begged for him to stay. When Liam's middle school aged brother returned home about 20 minutes later, he found that his younger brother and father had both been taken away. The family's lawyer says that they are not US citizens, but, and this is an important but, have been following the legal process perfectly, from presenting themselves at the border to applying for asylum to waiting for the process to go through. But the Trump administration doesn't respect the legal means of entering the country either. So that's the reason why there have been stories of ICE agents literally snatching people up as they appear for their court hearings. So they're following the law by going to court. And as they show up, they get arrested. So you know what that does? You know what that would tell me if I were here, not illegally because I'm claiming asylum or whatever, I have my day in court. That would communicate to me, whatever you do not show up to your court date. So great job, ICE. But on top of that, 2 17-year-olds from the district were also taken by ICE. One of those students were on their way to school and was removed from their car earlier Tuesday and taken by armed and masked agents, believed to be ICE agents, according to the Columbia Heights Public School news release. No parents were present. There was a 10-year-old girl who was also detained with her mother, according to the district. During the arrest, the child called her father to tell him the ICE agents were bringing her to school. The father immediately came to the school to find that both his daughter and wife had been taken. But ICE's abuses, I want to be clear, go well beyond one district, and it goes beyond immigrants. Okay, because American citizens have been dealing with the brunt of this out of control ICE situation. So Nasra Ahmed is a good example, 23-year-old US citizen who was arrested in her neighborhood and detained by ICE. Here she is recounting what happened. And again, remember, 23-year-old American citizen.
ICE came, they came out of their cars, they asked me to see my ID. And while they were asking me to see the ID, that man, he called me the N-word. They pushed me hard, they used a lot of violence, my body still hurts, I got a concussion. It's really hard for me to speak because of that concussion. And I was screaming, I was crying, I was so scared. I've never been arrested in my life. I don't have a criminal record. I have a clean record. I was literal cuffs were put on my legs, cuffs on my hands. And I was actually detained with a Native American woman. And God bless her heart, she went through a lot too. She was also detained by ICE, and she was also a US citizen, and like me, and she had gashes on her face. They shattered her window. I'll never forget the fear that we both felt in our hearts that day.
So they're detaining Native Americans who, I don't know if you know that, they're called Native Americans because they're native to this land.
All right, it's time for New Year's resolutions. We all make them, but I'm not making any big flashy resolutions that are gonna crash and burn by February. My reset is much simpler. It's about giving myself a break in the kitchen. Not by eating less, don't be crazy. But let's be honest, thinking about what to eat, shopping for it, cooking it, it's a drain. And when you're drained from cooking, you can't focus on the work that matters, and that's the work right here. That's where Cook Unity comes in. It's been my way of cheating. I have a personal chef. I'm very fancy that way, please. But without the insane cost. Restaurant quality meals on my schedule. So I ordered a bunch of things that I loved. So we got the pepperoni naan pizza. I love pepperoni pizza, I love naan. You put it together, it's genius. Golden chicken schnitzel. It's schnitzel, but it's golden. Okay, this stuff is all so good. New Orleans shrimp and grits. They have sausage in there too, love it. And that's my point, guys. These aren't boring and repetitive meals. These are all-star chefs, Food Network alum, and James Beard winners. Handpicking seasonal ingredients and balancing bold flavors with nutrition. Every meal is a small batch masterpiece delivered fresh, never frozen. It makes hitting wellness goals effortless because a nutritious, incredible meal is ready in minutes. No shopping, no cooking, no cleanup. You can browse by chef, by cuisine, filter macros to the gram, not a thing I would do, but you could. And it's way less than takeout or even grocery store prices. Plus their packaging is part of a reusable, eco-friendly program. You can't ask for more. Taste comfort and craftsmanship in every bite from the award-winning chefs behind Cook Unity. Go to cookunity.com/TYT or enter code TYT before checkout to get 50% off your first order. That's 50% off your first order by using code TYT or going to cookunity.com/TYT.
By the way, it's not just American citizens either. They're even racially profiling sworn deputies, local police officers. Now, how do I know that? Am I just making it up? Or could it be that the police chief for Brooklyn Park, Minnesota disclosed it during a press conference just a few days ago? Let's take a look.
We, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from US citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them.
And detainees are being choked to death. And I know that due to autopsies that have been released. So let's get to that. A medical examiner just ruled that an ICE detainee's death was in fact a homicide. Geraldo Lunas Campos, a 55-year-old Cuban man who was detained at Camp East Montana in El Paso, died during an interaction with guards after being placed into solitary confinement. And that's according to the government. A fellow detainee who said he witnessed the incident claimed that Campos had been asking for his medication. Reports indicate that individuals who have been detained have been denied medical treatment and medication. Adam Gonzalez, deputy medical examiner for El Paso County, said in his autopsy report that based on the investigation and examination findings, it is my opinion that the cause of death is asphyxia due to neck and torso compression. The manner of death is homicide. So, 3 men, by the way, have died in the same facility in just the past 2 months. And since Trump retook office, deaths at ICE facilities have increased significantly. I should note that currently ICE is detaining about 68,500 people, migrants specifically.
Yeah, so Anna used the word brown shirts. So why would you do that? Well,
that's what they are.
Because you saw some of those pictures and you've seen it 1,000 times. There's literally armed, masked thugs in our streets, and we don't know who they are. So we don't know their identities, they don't have badges. So they're terrorizing people in the streets. But not only that, they're above the law, because you know you're not gonna get any justice for Renee Good, who was murdered in Minneapolis. And you're very unlikely to get justice for Campos. These are people who were killed, but Trump keeps saying, nope, no way. If they're part of ICE, I'm not gonna prosecute them. So let me ask you a question. Even if you're, a Matt Walsh fan or something, what's to stop them from doing anything? They know that they're not ever going to be held accountable. So what's to stop them from starting to rape people? And go, oh no, she was going to hit me, so I did something to her first, or I was gonna say, or assaulting people there, but they're assaulting people every single day, like over and over again. They're now killing people, and they're above the law. No, they're not gonna get any justice at all. So we've got armed, masked men in our streets that are above the law. That's kind of the definition of a brown shirt, right?
Yeah, you're right about that, 100%. Stephen Miller has said on the record during an interview, and it went viral again recently, that ICE agents have total immunity when they're on the job. And the way that the administration has behaved following the fatal shooting of Renee Good makes that abundantly clear to me. You have Donald Trump coming out and accusing Renee Good of literally running over an ICE agent. And now all the video has shown, and this is a New York Times analysis where they show the video as evidence, the car didn't even make contact with the ICE agent's body at all.
Yeah.
So it's just, with all this information, Cenk, just keep in mind, this is the backdrop of what the House of Representatives just voted to approve today. What did they vote to approve? A government funding bill to the tune of $1.2 trillion. In that government funding bill, there's nearly 65 billion with a B dollars for DHS, and included in that DHS funding is a specific allocation of $10 billion for ICE. So this is all happening. They're terrorizing Americans, okay? And our House of Representatives is like, great, $10 billion for ICE, okay. 7 Democrats voted in favor of it. 7 Democrats.
So if you think we're doing hyperbole, hold on now. We've reported stories of guys who are not ICE, who are pretending to be ICE, masked, unidentified, just like ICE, have a van just like ICE, and pulling women into the van and raping them, right?
Yep.
Now, when we catch them, we do hold them to account because they're not ICE. But Stephen Miller is saying if ICE does that on duty, like does anything on duty, they should be above the law. So that same exact fact pattern, if you're not ICE, you're gonna go to jail, hopefully for 20 years or longer. But if you are ICE, that's okay.
Look, as much as it pains me to be fair to Stephen Miller, okay? He didn't say that ICE agents can literally rape people on the job.
No, he said they're above the law.
But he did say total immunity.
Total immunity means I could rob you, I could assault you, I could kill you. By the way, we've seen the assaults and the killings, so that's not in dispute. I could rape you, I could do whatever I want to you. That's above the law, okay? So, all right, last thing, look, if you're on the right and you say close the border, you're actually gonna get most of the American people on your side. If you say
deport the convicted criminals, everyone's on your side, yes.
Yeah, so deported criminals, deported criminals. Most of the country's on your side. So we could have a good debate about how many immigrants should we accept, right? Legally. And so that's a good, fair debate. There's nothing wrong with the debate about immigration at all, right? But if you say to us, we should be okay with this kind of thuggery in our streets, and we should be okay with masked men being above the law and being able to assault American citizens, kill American citizens, and have total immunity? No, the American people totally disagree. Every poll shows it. So if you're on the right and you think you're in the majority, you're not even close to the majority. You're a tiny, honestly radical minority who says, yes, mass thugs should be able to murder Americans and be above the law. That is not anywhere near normal, and the overwhelming majority of Americans say we hate it and we don't want it. So how did you take a popular immigration policy that you got elected on and turn it into something deeply unpopular? That is so, on top of being immoral, it is politically stupid, so congratulations. And finally, look, my daughter came home the other day and said that somebody in her middle school was deported by ICE. Now, all the kids in that school are devastated. They're trying to figure out what to do. Should we raise money? What can we do? They were friends with her. They didn't ask her what her status was. They were just kids in a junior high. So now all the kids are traumatized, wondering, are we ever gonna get our friend back? So wait. That isn't about immigrants. That's about all Americans.
Yep.
And so do you think that traumatizing kids like that is somehow good for the country? No, you've lost the country on that issue. And so I hope that, for all the Republicans and that 7 loathsome Democrats that voted with them, I hope to God they're all wiped out in the next election. And maybe you could begin to learn the lesson. Stop doing things that the country hates.
And let's name names, okay? These are the 7 Democrats. Some of them are unsurprising. Henry Cuellar,
of course,
who Nancy Pelosi worked real hard to reelect. Good job, bitch.
By the way, you want to talk about uniparty? Yeah. Nancy Pelosi's like, oh, he's getting bribes from Azerbaijan. We love it. Way to go. I love how corrupt you are. She protected him with everything. And we could have had a progressive in that race, and she lost by a little bit because Pelosi was, I prefer the corrupt. That's what Pelosi said. Hold on, total uniparty. Then Donald Trump pardoned Cuellar from the bribery charges. So Trump and Pelosi totally agree, they both love corruption. And that son of a bitch voted with the Republicans.
Marie Perez voted in favor of it. Lori Gillen, Thomas Suozzi, Jared Golden, Don Davis, Vicente Gonzalez. Those are the 7 Democrats who voted in favor of providing ICE with an additional $10 billion as they terrorize Americans and immigrants in blue cities across this country. So those are the Democrats.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.